I keep circling back to this mess with Britt, Lucas, Lulu, Jocelyn, and honestly, maybe anybody in that orbit taking another shot at Cullen while he's laid up in that hospital bed, half broken but still dangerous as hell. And the thing is, from where I'm sitting, this doesn't even feel like some simple revenge beat anymore. It's got that ugly American soap chaos energy, the kind where folks say they're doing it for justice, but really it's about fear, ego, unfinished rage, and yeah, plain old panic. Because let me say it straight, if Cullen survives this hospital situation, then everybody who even thought about touching him is cooked. Not maybe, not kinda, cooked. So when I picture Britt or Jocelyn creeping into that hospital room, maybe late night, fluorescent lights buzzing, some nurse down the hall gossiping while the whole town thinks the danger is over, I don't see clean heroics. Nah, I see sloppy nerves. Hands shaking, somebody whispering, "This is our only chance," even while they barely believe it themselves. And that's what makes it feel real to me. It ain't about being brave. It's about being cornered. Cullen being the one who attacked Marco after Pascal spilled the betrayal, that part tracks way too perfectly. Pascal lighting that fuse by telling Cullen Marco turned on him, then acting shocked when Cullen explodes. Man, that's classic Messi manipulation right there. Like, what did Pascal think was going to happen? Cullen is not exactly the let's talk this out over coffee type. Dude, here's betrayal. Next thing you know, Marco's bleeding out on the floor of the law office, papers scattered everywhere, legal files soaked in blood, somebody's whole empire collapsing in one stupid, violent minute. I can almost see it. Marco maybe still trying to talk when Cullen snaps. Not a long speech. No cinematic villain monologue. Just rage. Fast, personal, ugly. And if Marco dies from that stabbing, which honestly feels likely, then the moral weight of this story shifts hard. Because now Cullen isn't just dangerous, he's become the kind of man who starts eliminating liabilities the second his control slips. That's why Pascal becomes the next problem. Pascal may be secretive, sure. He probably believes he can keep his mouth shut, bury the Marco thing, protect Cullen for the sake of the larger operation. On paper that makes sense, but I don't think Cullen trusts paper logic anymore. Once somebody proves they know too much, paranoia starts writing the script. And paranoia, it always writes in blood. From my angle, Cullen starts looking at Pascal and seeing not an ally, but a loose thread. A dude who came into town first, got tighter with Sidwell, maybe knows where too many bodies are buried, literal or otherwise, who even knows at this point. That kind of closeness becomes threatening when you're already spiraling. So yeah, I absolutely buy the possibility that Cullen decides Pascal has to go. Not because Pascal betrayed him, not even because Pascal plans to talk, but because Cullen can no longer tolerate uncertainty. That's the educational thing buried inside all this soap madness, by the way. Fear makes people destroy the very systems keeping them alive. I've seen stories do this over and over, and it mirrors real life in a way people don't always want to admit. Folks under pressure don't always make smart choices. They make choices that feel safer in the next 5 minutes, even if it wrecks everything long term. Cullen killing Pascal to keep Marco's death secret forever? Yeah, that's exactly the kind of short-term thinking a collapsing power player would choose. And then there's Sidwell. This is where it gets even nastier, because Sidwell isn't just some random ally. He's essential to the Cold Synthesis project, which feels like the spine holding this whole crooked machine upright. Cullen needs him, not just for brains, but for reach, money, legitimacy, power, whatever version of influence this town trades in. Losing Sidwell would be worse than losing muscle. It would mean the plan itself starts rotting. So when I think about Cullen's mindset, I don't think he's mostly grieving Marco or even worried about Pascal as a person. I think he's calculating fallout. If Sidwell learns Cullen stabbed Marco, then suddenly Sidwell has two reasons to turn. The project is threatened by instability. Sidwell's own revenge instincts over his son might flare up in unpredictable ways, and Cullen cannot afford either one. That's the coldest part of this whole thing to me. He's not protecting relationships. He's protecting architecture. The whole ugly scaffold of secrets, science, revenge, and money. So, if Pascal dies after Marco, whew, Sidwell getting hit with that news would land like a truck. First Marco, then Pascal, both tied to Cullum's circle, both dead in suspicious timing. Sidwell is too smart not to start connecting dots. Unless, and this is where my brain kind of spirals a little, unless Britt, Lucas, Lulu or Jocelyn's hospital move interrupts Cullum's next kill. See, that's the twist I keep coming back to. What if their attempt on Cullum in the hospital either succeeds just enough to delay him or fails in a way that wakes him up physically and mentally? Like maybe he catches one of them in the room, maybe Lulu freezes. Maybe Lucas drops some dumb clue. Maybe Britt hesitates because she realizes killing a man on life support ain't revenge, it's something darker. And in that hesitation, the whole thing falls apart. That would be so human, messy, not polished. Somebody goes in thinking they're ending the nightmare and instead they create a bigger one. Because if Cullum recovers after a failed attack, oh man, now he's got confirmation that enemies are everywhere. Hospital walls won't save him. Allies won't save him. Silence won't save him. That kind of realization pushes unstable people into overdrive. Pascal probably dies quicker in that version. Sidwell gets lied to harder. The cold synthesis project becomes even more desperate. And honestly, Britt and them may accidentally make Cullum more lethal. That's the tragedy I'd lean into if I were telling this story in my own rough way. Sometimes revenge doesn't heal anything. Sometimes it sharpens the blade on the other side. I also keep thinking about how American dialogue would flavour this. Britt especially could have that sharp, fed-up tone like, nah, we ain't waiting for this psycho to wake up and come finish the job. Lucas might be more jittery, all, yo, this is nuts. This is straight up nuts. We can still bounce. That kind of regional, street-level tension makes it breathe more like real people and less like scripted TV gloss. Because real folks talk crooked when scared. They repeat themselves. They start sentences and don't. Like, they don't even know where they were going. Just adrenaline and half-thoughts spilling out. That's what this story needs. Not elegance, pressure. And the value in it, the part I'd actually want readers to sit with, is how every lie multiplies the body count. Pascal tells Cullum about Marco. Cullum attacks Marco. Marco maybe dies. Cullum fears Pascal talks. Pascal becomes next. Sidwell eventually notices. Britt's group retaliates. Hospital violence escalates. One secret births 5 disasters. That's such a brutal lesson about unchecked anger and secrecy. People always think the cover-up is the smart move, but most times the cover-up is the actual poison. So yeah, my gut says Sidwell is absolutely on the verge of receiving devastating news about Pascal after Marco's death, and when that domino falls, the alliance structure around Cullum starts cracking for real. Maybe not publicly at first, but internally, trust is gone. Everybody starts side-eyeing everybody else. The whole thing gets real twitchy. And me personally, I'd make that the real suspense, not just does Cullum die in the hospital. The bigger hook is, if Cullum lives, how many more people die because everybody moved too late or too emotional or too damn scared to tell the truth when it mattered? That's where the story stops being just thriller drama and starts saying something about power, silence, and the way vengeance keeps eating the wrong people first. Marco, Pascal, maybe even Sidwell next. And the wild part is, Britt, Lucas, Lulu, Jocelyn, they probably think they're stopping the monster. But sometimes, when you swing at the monster and miss, you just teach it who to hunt first.